Hey everybody.
Hey, he's Shane. I'm Lex.
Yeah, rock on. Welcome to another
fourth edition.
Yeah,
Of Stump the Chump.
I'm sure that every question we've come at least close to stumping us, if not completely annihilate us.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah. So we saw some of the questions that you sent in before.
Thanks for those. By the way.
Thanks for those because there's one thing that you're stumping us, but also we want to help you guys use this product better. So
yeah.
But then if you have any questions, by all means throw down on the chat window and we'll parse through them and see what we can do. All right, so let's go ahead and jump on this thing.
First question?
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess so.
All right.
All right, from Todd M. I'm needing to update, yes, this is the question I like.
Yeah.
I'm needing to update an INI file, which resides in 400 employees' personal user directories on our file server. Is there a way to use PDQ Deploy to modify one line in the INI file without having to copy over the entire file? This INI file has their encrypted password in it, and if I were just to overwrite the INI file with the new server settings, it would wipe out their password, which most won't remember, and of course, which obviates the need for a password.
Yeah, I'll say it, Todd. Wipe them out and then tell everybody to reset them. Yeah.
Okay, so Todd, there's you can do it, but there's not a native feature for that. There's not a native feature within PDQ Deploy to say modify an INI file or a file. But that being said, we didn't want to just, I saw that question, didn't want to just say script it. Because yes, you can script it and you can basically pick your language and you could use it from a command step or an install step. But we're actually going to have Chris. It's Chris with a K.
The PowerShell guy, yeah.
Yeah, Chris is our PowerShell guy. He's just fantastic. He's going to waddle over here
and show you guys how to do this. While he's doing that, I'm heading over to the whiskey shelf and gonna get inebriated.
Yep, rock on. But now, in order to show you this, we're actually, hey guys, this is Chris. We're going to do this with Deploy 9. Now, it's going to go into the public beta. It's going to be released today, right?
Yep, that's the plan.
All right. And by the way, JJ, since Chris doesn't have an earpiece, if you need to say anything, just convey it to me. We'll do a little whispers thing. Anyway, so we're going to show you 9, and there's a reason why we're going to show you 9, because this has a new feature, which is a PowerShell step. You can always call a PowerShell script from an install step, but this is a great use case, Todd, of how you can use the new PowerShell step. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Chris.
Sweet.
It's quick. Well, hogging my whiskey. All right, guys, so go ahead, Chris.
Skål, Chris.
Skål. Cheers.
Skål. Kampai.
Chris speaks Japanese. Lex kind of speaks Danish. I'm illiterate in everything. Go ahead.
Congratulations. On that note, so here with PDQ Deploy 9, we have a wonderful new thing, the PowerShell step. And I'm so excited for it. I just can't even contain my excitement, as you can probably tell.
You look excited, Chris.
I do. Oh my goodness. So there's my excitement. So with this, trying to update an INI file, it's actually pretty straightforward with PowerShell. You can just kind of go grab the file, say, here's what I want to do with it, and then go right back to the file. So I'm just going to show you a quick example here. It's not going to go into each individual user's directories for their individual files, but if you need more assistance with this, go ahead and just contact us, and I'd be happy to take a look at it. So that being said, let's just say we have an INI file somewhere, which I conveniently have somewhere. This is really weird typing on a keyboard that's not mine. I have a fancy mechanical keyboard, that's why.
I can only imagine how loud that would be.
So you're declaring the variable for file?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So here's our file, here's our INI file. So at this point, we're also going to say, well, what do we want to replace and what do we want to replace it with? So we'll just create some stupid variables called replay, not response. I can type replace me. And let's just say we're replacing an IP address. So we have that, and we'll replace it with me. And for those of you who understand IP addresses, you'll know that this is a completely valid IP address. Cough, ahem, cough. So, that being said, at this point we'll use a commandlet in PowerShell called get content, which gets the content of any text document here. But one thing to note about this particular commandlet is that it actually reads it line by line and actually stores each line as a separate string object.
Okay.
So there's a little trick to actually manipulating this on one line and then writing it to the same file on that same one-liner in PowerShell. is you wrap it around with a parentheses. This basically says close the file when you're done reading it. So we're going to take those. And we're going to pipe it, take each one of those objects, and say for each object, so each one of those lines that we encounter, we're going to say take that line and replace me with me.
Now, how do you make this case insensitive?
It's already case insensitive.
Okay.
I'm just doing a camel case here because it's more convenient for me. So,
Then you have the curly bracket at the end there?
yes, so we put it in a script block, and at this point, this alone, this command, will actually take that entire INI file and give you back the results to the console and say, hey, here's your replacement, and show it with you, or show it for you on the console window. But we actually want to create the file, so we're actually going to set it. Pipe those results and say set content and that file, and we're done. Because this is a new PowerShell step and I kind of want to show you output, this alone, if you were to run this command from the PowerShell ISE or from the PowerShell console, won't actually give you any output. So we're going to actually take that command, make sure that we pass it through as an object itself, and pipe it to output. And I'll actually put it and use the command that write output and actually put it into the stream so that you can actually see it in our output log.
Which is a standard out.
Yes, correct. And so we'll just name this as update config.ini, package, whatever. Doesn't really matter what we call it, but we'll call it
Todd's replacement.
Todd's replacement.
You're being fired,
It's
Todd.
fancy.
All right.
So we have this, and because I'm using a file that's just on a UNC path here, I can deploy it to any machine that I can successfully deploy to, and it should work. So in this case, I'll just deploy it to, let's do Fry, because Fry is awesome. See that? And go. And this new PowerShell step is just amazing. It actually has a little bit of basic error handling in there, so if you put any error codes in there, we'll kick it back through to deploy, so you can actually account for those, as well as if anything happens in the global automatic variable for error, for the error stream, it'll show up here. So
I was hoping for a lot more nudity in that little demo. Yeah.
Next time.
with time. Yes.
JJ and I are once again going to have a Thursday just disappointment.
So here we have, I probably should have shown you the file beforehand, didn't, that's great. So take my word for it that it really did update it. Actually, I can actually show you that as well. But
Perfect. No, I think that drives the point home.
Right there.
So once again, you could have done this with an install step.
Yes.
In previous versions, because the install step, if it sees a PS1 file as the install file, it will actually call PowerShell. By the way, what version of PowerShell is required on the targets for this?
for this one in particular, I actually wrote it with PowerShell version 2 in mind.
Okay.
So this one should be universal for most of your stuff, Todd. So this should be good. You can actually kind of change it up a little bit in version 3 and onward to make it a little bit nicer. This entire...
We don't care.
Okay.
Go away.
I'm gonna go drink my...
Yeah, we're gonna keep Chris fairly sauced and near to hand so that if there's... Thanks, Chris.
Other
Shout out to him,
PowerShell
though,
questions that we can...
Yeah, so if you guys have any PowerShell questions or anything else, I mean, Chris knows this product better than pretty much anybody else.
We want to give a shout out to his blog, or his blog contributions.
Yeah, he does the PowerShell blog.
Amazing PowerShell blog. Usually every third Thursday, depending.
97%
Roughly.
nudity free.
60% of the time, his PowerShell works every time.
All right, hey, seriously, thank you, Chris. I hope that answered your question, Todd. But once again, you could have done this with a lot of different languages, but we wanted to take this opportunity to highlight the new PowerShell step. Because a lot of people have said, I would like to run some PowerShell commands without having to create a PowerShell file. Similar to the command step. A lot of people say, I want to just write a couple of commands without having to write a batch file and call it from an install step. Anyway, do we have any more questions?
Oh, of course we do.
Stump the Chump.
Todd, you'd better be watching for that one. Took a lot of time.
There's quite a bit of talk about what people are seeing on the corner next to Lex's shoulder.
Yes, okay. Oh, the 78 unused file.
calling
Okay,
it
so
out.
this has been something that we've had in the background here. That is, let's look at this. Java 8, the new Java 8 update came out, right? So it's Java 8 update 91, or if you use the patch set update, it's 92. But most people use 91. Anyway, 77 we had imported before. So I can go and delete 77, and it deletes that. However,
in the repository, the install files are left there.
Correct. If you let's take a peek. How do you get to your repository once again?
Go preferences, repository, and then just
Yep. So there's the path right there, and you notice this is once again in Deploy 9, where you can see that you can delete unused files. But we're just going to open this up. I'm going to go into Java, JRE, Java 8, and you can see we have a couple of unused files in there.
Old ones, yeah.
The old ones. We have 91 that we recently imported, but the others, their packages have been
removed.
Removed, and there we go. Close that. So their packages have been removed, but we've always kept those files there, kind of left it up to you to delete those files. This new feature allows you to kind of clean that up. Obviously, we were slow in bringing this out because we don't want to delete files that may be used elsewhere, especially for those of you who share your repositories.
That's right.
We didn't want you to step all over everybody's stuff. It's probably not going to delete that one we just deleted because it does a refresh like every 15 minutes or something like that. Anyway, if you want to delete those, you could simply come over here, click that link, or go into preferences. There's a link there or a button, and you can see all the files that we detect. Now, this will only work in your repository. We're not going to look at, if you don't use the repository, but you have a package that points to
if you put the path
file
in,
server somewhere or wherever.
It's not in the repository.
We're only in the repository. Anyway, you could say, I want to delete this Firefox PS1, or you can just say select all the files and delete them. Let's delete 2 gigs.
Bang.
All right, and we'll hit close. And
looks like it did pick up that last Java. So
cool. If we go back into that folder. Yep, there it is.
Cleaned it up.
So you can see that it just deleted those.
Little housekeeping for you.
Did that answer the questions for everybody?
I hope so.
All right.
Shall we take another one?
Sure.
I have a multi-site network with a replicated repository on a server in each site with a workstation in the main office running deploy. My question is there a way to link a remote Wake-on-LAN agent to deploy to wake up computers in remote sites? Or maybe a workaround?
Is that
Caleb?
Caleb asks. Hi, Caleb.
Hey, man.
Well,
yes.
Natively from Deploy, no, you need to have
inventory,
and you need to have inventory at least version Pro or higher. And there is a Wake-on-LAN. There's a Wake-on-LAN feature.
Distributed Wake-on-LAN, actually.
Well, there's Wake-on-LAN incorporates the distributed Wake-on-LAN.
Basically.
Let's go ahead and add more confusion.
Should we?
So they have to look at us. Hell, we don't want to.
Okay, that is harsh. No, basically,
if you have inventory, a Pro mode of inventory, and the computers you're deploying are in inventory, we will send the Wake-on-LAN if you have configured deploy to do that. The way the distributed that he was talking about is a lot of organizations turn off Wake-on-LAN. They
block it at the router.
They disable the broadcasts.
Yeah, so you can't send it across between routers and sites.
And they also, and while we understand certainly disabling regular broadcasts, a lot of people even disable directed broadcasts. So what we do is, inventory will say, hey, you need to wake up this computer that's on this subnet. I'm going to find another computer in inventory that is online in that subnet and have that computer wake it up. That way things aren't traversing the routers.
Yep.
And your remote sites, as long as you're deploying from a computer that has access to inventory, which has that computer in inventory, it should work.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you don't use inventory, there's different Wake-on-LAN utilities that you might be able to incorporate. We've had a couple of customers say they've done that in the past, but you could go find some free utilities out there and kind of bundle that with your deployment in a way. You'd still have to deploy it to a machine that's online.
Yeah.
That's kind of the key. But natively with deploy, without inventory, no. With inventory, yes.
Yep.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Cool. What else we got, JJ?
All right. Say I have just sent a deployment to a bunch of laptops I've set up, and then I have another laptop ready. Can I add it to the deployment I've just done? That's from Darren. No. Once you set that deployment, those targets are in there, whether it's from a schedule or a deploy now. For example, I want to deploy, Java update 891. Choose my targets. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes, obviously. So I'm going to say, let's just be a little smart about this and find those that have.
That need the new one?
Yeah, let's go Java 8, but 32-bit old. So we'll do Carla and we'll do Chef. So I can say okay to this. Deploy now. That deployment is now set. I can't add something to this deployment. Now, if I want to deploy the new computer, basically you would just say, okay, let's go ahead and deploy this new one and type that computer in or however you do it.
Yeah.
But no, I can't go back in here. The only thing I can do in here is actually right-click and abort one or all, one, some, or all of them. So you can stop individual, but you can't add. Once that's in there, it's set. Next question.
On PDQ Inventory, can the current user entry reference AD? Can the current user entry reference AD and populate custom fields like full name, title, department, etc.? No. That was pretty quick. Yeah.
No. The name that we're grabbing is from when the scan runs on a computer, we just say, hey, is there a user that's currently logged on?
That's what we grab. And
we grab the logged on name. Now we'll include the domain in there, but that's not tying anything to Active Directory. As far as we're not querying AD, we're not looking for different AD attributes. We're just actually doing an API call to the operating system saying, oh, by the way,
who's here? Yeah.
give me a name. And if there's multiple users that are logged on, we just basically say, give me one that's got a current session. And if there's, if you're talking about a terminal server, there's multiple current sessions, we grab the first one.
Yep.
So the answer is no, sorry.
Yeah. Next. Oh, there we go.
I used PDQ Deploy to run DISM online commands, well done, to enable the ENCA speech on Windows 10 Enterprise 1511 and fire Cortana up. Rock on. Now, how can I build a collection around an installed language pack in PDQ Inventory to automate? All right.
Hey, Mark, interestingly enough, I tried doing that last night.
Yeah, there's... It looks like, so language packs, when you install a language pack, it's usually you're not installing Windows in a particular language. You have a language like English US, but then for Chris, like Chris will kick on the Japanese language pack, or you might do Danish.
Yeah.
Those show up in Windows Update. It looks like our hot fixes aren't grabbing those. So we're going to investigate that.
Now, we did dig into the registry to try and find them, but it's usually codes, not names. So I was searching for Danish. We found some codes that I could trace back to it, but unless you know what the code is.
And sometimes, depending on if you want to look at where the language pack is installed, we're going to see if we can't fix that in the hot fixes. If you want to know if the language pack is enabled, that is a per user setting. Yeah. So, one person can have Danish, the other person can have English. At that point, you're going to need to look in the current user, and that's not an inventory scanner. The inventory scanner will look in like classes root and HKey local machine. It does not traverse, like HKey current user or anything like that. You can kind of dig down because it will grab some things in HKey users, but I think,
for the most part, it's pretty tough. Yeah.
Hopefully, I think what your question was, though, I want to know if it's installed. It should be showing up in the hot fixes. We're going to figure out if there's a way we can show that.
Yeah.
All right.
Good question, though. Is there a way via PDQ to prevent a workstation from going to sleep during an unattended deployment? I've had deployments fail due to a computer going to sleep. Beth G.
Hi, Beth. That sucks. Okay, so obviously you guys have a fairly aggressive...
sleep schedule, timeout on
power savings. You know what? We don't have anything native in there, but there's some utilities out there. There's one.
Is that one we were looking at?
I'm going to open this
yesterday?
up. Don't sleep.
Don't sleep. Don't sleep. Yeah.
I think it's called Don't Sleep. I've used this interactively. There it is. Yeah. So, what you'd probably want to do if you were to do something like Don't Sleep, I've used this interactively before. What you can do is, I believe you could deploy this file in a step and run it. do a start run or do a start on this, and you run it. There's a command line parameter. I think it's disable standby or something like that.
Yeah.
There's some usage. There's some usage in the don't sleep documentation, and then run all your other steps. This stays running. You'd need to run this. You need to run this as most likely as deploy user interactive. That's a run as option or run option. Deploy user interactive, and then your last step you would do a don't sleep. It's a -exit, I believe. But this is just one example. At this point, we don't have a native feature in there, although that's not a bad idea. Charlie had mentioned that last year.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, why don't we do this? We really haven't had a call for it. It's interesting with this question. Maybe there is a reason why we want to have that as something native. During a deployment, don't allow a computer to go into standby mode. Don't allow it to go into sleep mode. We'll dig into that and see if we can make that a native feature. But for now, there's probably a bunch of free utilities that you could check out.
Cool. What else we got, JJ?
Is there a way we can deploy an application? Yes, next.
All right.
Example, Firefox, Chrome, Adobe Reader, and have a shortcut created in the taskbar automatic. You know what? I'm going to ask Chris to come back over for this one because we asked Chris to look at this. Chris.
Yeah.
He's over there drinking.
He's dreading it.
I don't want
He's going to be soft. All right, come over here. So, Lex, get the hell out of the way.
Let's close that browser.
How's that right there?
I'll tell you what, I'll step out, and you guys go ahead. So
Stare at me and Chris.
The question is, Chris, I don't know if you were too drunk. Can we, this person saying, I'm deploying an application, I want to add the shortcut to the taskbar. You remember this? We talked
I remember this one.
A year ago. Okay, go for it.
Okay, so there's a story about this that I'm not going to go into, but
Oh, you just did though, man.
short answer, new versions of Windows, no, not easily.
Yeah.
In fact, in Windows 10 going forward, the department of Microsoft that makes these dumb decisions decided against it. They said, we don't want to allow any sort of programmatic control over the user profiles and actually being able to set the taskbar. That's a user-defined area. I mean, it has to be. And so, no. Previous ways around this, in Windows 8, I believe there's a section in the registry which references the context menu of those icons in the taskbar, and you can actually call that from a script or something, and actually have that call that command and actually pin it and unpin it.
Been able to successfully do that?
I can do it on 8. I can do it on 8.1. Cannot do it on 10.
Okay.
10 is a pain. So that's
Basically, Chris hasn't figured it out yet.
exactly. They're basically saying you should not be doing this as administrators over your enterprise. Shame on you. Shame on them for deciding that. But that's my opinion. So
I still have faith Chris will find a way to
So
do
the
it.
answer in short is no.
Thanks, man.
Basically, bring in Chris to be the bearer of bad tidings.
We only give good
Yeah,
news.
so it's been deprecated. It's not easy. You would, if you only have like Windows 7 computers or Windows 8.1, reach out to us. But there's still some extra steps you're going to have to do for all your deployments to get this done. It's not easy. And I remember talking about like a year ago. Chris was just going off. It was pretty funny. All right. Anyway, sorry once again to be the bearer of bad tidings. All right, from Bethany, is there a way to use either inventory or deploy to restart a service on a workstation? Yes to both. If you want to from...
Deploy?
Oh, no.
We're going to do inventory?
I'll do
the easy
inventory.
one, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's piss off...
Ooh, Brig. Let's do Brig.
No, we're going to do Fry.
Oh, there we go.
So since we're already doing stuff on
So
Fry.
we're picking on Chris.
Chris
You open
is
up,
already here.
Bethany, you open up Fry, the computer Fry. Go to Services. Now, the services that we show here are based off of an inventory scan. So once we have this, we scan. So basically, if the services scanner has not been executed on this machine since a new service has been installed or deleted,
Won't show.
It won't show up there. But once it's been installed, and if it's still there, then when you open this, when you highlight services, it's actually going to call out to this target computer to get the state of each of those services. So let's say. I'm just going to go right to spool or...
Shut his print spooler down.
Yeah, if I wanted to shut this print spooler down from inventory, you see that little stop button? I could do that.
Boom.
Boom. And you can see it stopping, and now it stopped. And then you can start it up. So that's a fairly easy way. You could also do a remote command from PDQ Inventory just using the SC or the net start, net stop commands. And then if you wanted to do this in mass, like you wanted to stop, for example, the spooler service, in mass, you could also do this from deploy where you would do a new package. We'll do a command step. Delete that install step. Stop spooler. And do a net stop spooler command. You're going to want to have different success codes, like 2 or 1056. I know these are different codes that mean like, oh, the service, you tried to stop it, but it was already stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't want to show that as a failure. Like, for example, I'll save this. We've already, well, let's stop. We'll find out.
Stop Chris
Going to stop spooler on Fry again.
There you go. See, you and Chris learned to type the same place.
You.
I do classes on Thursdays with you guys.
Here's how you can peck like a pro.
That's right.
All right, so we've stopped. Now I'm going to go and deploy this.
Fry.
Yeah. We'll go to Fry, and then we'll also go to Carla. So you should see two different. One, Fry should fail because Fry's already stopped. And we didn't capture that success code properly.
Jeopardy music. Na, 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 na.
Shane, I like how you snuck on a hat in between.
Yeah, I realized I forgot to put it back on. Okay, so it's error code 2. So notice Fry failed, Carla was successful. So all you'd have to do is go back into the package that you created and just do a comma 2. So that when you did deploy to Fry or to a computer that had it stopped, then it would not show up as a failure because you want to stop a service, it's already stopped, you've achieved your goal.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Of course, you can also do a net start or an SC start depending on.
Yep.
All right. Do we have another question? Sorry?
Said it was from Son A. No, Jason A.
Oh,
Jason
Son
A.
What is the best practice for changing over from reader XI 11? I suck.
JJ, take over. buddy.
I'm Ron Burgundy?
From Rita Chi Z.
All right, Mr. Doyle, what is the best practice for changing over from Reader 11 to Reader DC without installing to any Acrobat users? Oh, I'm thinking uninstall, creating targets, filtering Acrobat out per site. Okay, so what you're saying is you want to deploy Reader DC to computers, but if they have Acrobat, which is the pro, like the pro or standard version, the paid version, my understanding, Jason, is then you don't want to do that. So I would create a collection. I would create a collection or multiple collections depending on how you want to break this down. You know, computers that have like a Reader 11, but don't have Adobe Acrobat. So in Adobe Reader 11, it was called Adobe Reader XI, and the Acrobat or the Pro version, standard version, that was called had Acrobat in there. So you could just say, show me all the computers that have Adobe Reader 11 but don't have Adobe Acrobat XI,
and then deploy to that collection.
So you'd have two different filters. Remember, you wouldn't say applications don't contain Adobe Acrobat. You'd say you'd have a collection that. A filter, a group filter that says not any, and then you'd have underneath that application contains Adobe Acrobat XI, and then that would filter those out.
We've got videos on that one, guys. If you have trouble with it, check the video. It'll help you a lot.
A lot of them. That's how you would do it. I think that was the question that you were asking. If you basically, because yeah, you don't want to install Adobe Reader on top of a computer that already has Acrobat. Yeah. All right, so I guess that's it.
I guess we're wrapping it up.
We're wrapping up.
Hey, thanks for your questions, you guys, and Chris, thanks.
Yeah,
no, seriously.
shout out to Chris, man. Good job, buddy.
If you have questions, not just PowerShell, although that's his milieu. If you have, Chris is just a fantastic resource.
He is quite the zealot about
and
PowerShell.
And you know, Jason asked me as I was coming out here. Jason's one of our support guys, and he said, please mention to people that we removed QuickTime from the package library because of the 0-day vulnerabilities that were discovered that Apple's said they're not planning on fixing for the QuickTime Windows.
Yep.
So yes, we've had some people saying, "Whoa, where did the QuickTime go?"
What happened?
There's the uninstall QuickTime, but the QuickTime and the iTunes with QuickTime packages have been disabled. So you
Just
can't,
for safety, guys.
Just for safety, yeah. Once again, it made the news all last week. If you have QuickTime on Windows, yank it. Cool thing about it is if you have Windows 8 or higher and you have iTunes, if you've noticed, you could have QuickTime. You could still watch your videos on iTunes and stuff without having to have QuickTime. It was really for Windows 7, Windows Vista. But it's been out, and Jason wanted me to mention that. Since I sit close to Jason, I don't want to have a stapler hit me in the side of the head when I didn't mention it. So.
He does have a good arm.
Yeah, he does. All right, hey, thanks you guys. We'll talk to you later.
Catch y'all later.
All right, everybody. We have our winners, Caleb S. and Todd M. You've won our PDQ swag, and our t-shirt winner is Dave H. So I'll be getting in touch with you guys or email me, and we'll get that shipped out to you. We'll see you guys next Thursday.